What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Why Slayer is the Best Skill Part 2. In the first episode, we talked about some perks of the Slayer skill and what it can do for you. If you haven't seen the first episode of the series, there is a card popping up in the top right now, and you can check that episode out and then come back to episode 2. So in this episode, I'm going to cover 2 more points on why Slayer can help progress your account and you as a player, as well as go through my first 250,000 experience only using Duradel and money-making tasks as a method to build an account. So we'll check out those 2 points I was talking about, as well as take a look at each task that I did for those 250,000 XP, how many of what I killed, and the total XP from each task, and we'll also take a look at the loot that I have accumulated throughout that 250,000 XP. Alright, so without further ado, let's get into this. So the first point for this video is going to be about bossing and how Slayer can help you transition into higher level bossing on your account. Now for bossing, there is a Slayer unlock that you can get. It is called Like a Boss, and this will allow Slayer Masters to assign you boss tasks. Now nobody says you have to get this as soon as possible during the account. Honestly, you should wait until you're comfortable with your combat stats to do this. Once you think that you have the combat stats, which are generally around base 80s, at least in my opinion, once you have those combat stats, you can go ahead and unlock something like this, and you'll help to progress yourself into bossing. Slayer Masters can assign you normal Slayer bosses in the form of normal Slayer tasks, as well as boss dedicated tasks like the King Black Dragon or General Gardor or anything like that. So why does this help you? Well, point number 1 that I'm going to make for this is while you're on a boss task for a Slayer assignment, you can use the Slayer helmet. And that Slayer helmet will give you that boost to 15% of attack and strength, as well as magic and ranged if you have the helmet or the black mask imbued. So why is this important? Well, when you're getting into bossing, it can be a little bit difficult. And that's not to say that you're a bad player, but if you're just getting into the bossing scene, you're not exactly familiar with the mechanics you might see. So that increase in attack and strength, range, and magic gives you the DPS increase, and it helps you get through the fight a little bit easier. Then you can get comfortable, and then at some point or another, you can just do the boss whenever you feel like it without that helpful damage increase, because you know that you'll have the mechanics down and you'll be able to tackle a boss without any issues. The second point about bossing that I want to make is how this is going to help you get to that end game content. Everybody wants to get to end game content. Everybody wants to get to the Chambers of Xeric, the Theater of Blood, and soon we'll have Raids 3, so you definitely want to get into that. Now what I'm saying here is mechanics is what's going to help you. Doing different bosses through Slayer can help you identify mechanics that you may see down the road and help you react to them. For example, the Alchemical Hydra has recently had an animation added to it that allows you to tell when the attack style is changing. No longer do we have to count to 3 over and over, but why does this help you? Well, in comparison, the Corrupted Gauntlet is much harder than the Alchemical Hydra. And just something like that simple attack animation that you can recognize and then carry over to the Corrupted Gauntlet, because the boss in the Corrupted Gauntlet also has an animation that lets you know when the attack style is changing. You'll be ready for something like that. Now the Alchemical Hydra, way easier than the Corrupted Gauntlet. So you're getting experience and you're getting exposed to something that you will see in a much harder place that can bring you in more money should you get successful with it. So what about gear switching and prayer switching, which is my next point? Now in the endgame content world, such as at the end of a Chambers of Xeric raid, you're going to fight the Great Olm, which requires you to switch prayers and gear pretty quickly. Now you want to try to get the hang of this while still in a situation where you can take damage so you can learn, but you don't want it to be quite as punishing. A good example of this would be the Grotesque Guardians. After fighting Dusk in the first phase, once she reaches half HP, you'll have to quickly switch to your melee gear as well as your melee overhead prayers and your prayers to do more melee damage, and that will help you build confidence as well as speed to get to the gear switches quickly so you don't mess up. Now the Grotesque Guardians are much less punishing than the Great Olm, obviously, so you don't really have to worry about taking a whole ton of damage and just dying and losing your team a ton of points in the Chambers of Xeric. All in all, Slayer is not just a skill to make you money, it is actually a skill that can prepare you for the late game content that everybody is working towards. So moving on to my second major point of this video, what else can Slayer help you with? Well, to be honest, it can actually help you in PvP situations, and not only escaping from PKers, but it can also help you get into a mindset and comfortable position where you can actually PK because of actually what I just mentioned with gear switching. Now first up, let's check out the defensive position as to where Slayer can help you with the bossing. Now since you're bossing, you will learn to switch gear and prayers in accordance to what your opponent is using. Now in a PK situation where you are the one being PK'd, you're probably surrounded by a few people that might be using different attack styles. Well, since you've been bossing, you will have the muscle memory to switch gear quickly, as well as your prayers quickly, depending on the method that you use. Now for this, as well as the bossing portion, I would suggest using F keys. F keys can help you develop a very good habit of switching around through inventory interfaces to get to your gear and your prayers quickly. Now me, for instance, I don't PK that much, but when I do, I have noticed that because I've been bossing so much in the past, it actually has helped me in a scenario where I can actually successfully gear switch and use tick manipulation to my advantage to combo hits with special attack weapons as well as normal weapons to stack damage. And that can help you in the long run if you do want to take PKing a little bit further. Now, will Slayer make you the best PKer out there? No, probably not. That does come with a lot of practice, a lot of determination, and believe it or not, a lot of skill. But honestly, from my point of view, and from what I've been able to accomplish, it can help get you started on the correct path, once again, because of that gear switching and the prayer switching with the use of F keys. I just thought that it might be worth mentioning for some of our players out there that do like to engage in PVM content as well as PvP content. So those are the 2 points for this episode that I am going to finish covering, as they might help you progress your account further than you thought it might with the Slayer skill. Now what we are going to get into is what kind of money and what kind of loot I have acquired through my first 250,000 experience using Duradel as my only Slayer master for money making. So first up, let's take a look at what kind of Slayer tasks that I have done for this 250k XP. So on the screen now, we can see what tasks accumulated me that 250,000 experience. And you'll see the first one there is Steal Dragons. And you're probably wondering, why did you do that? That doesn't make you any money. Well, it's only 16 of them if you don't have the Metal Dragons extended, for a total of 4,198 experience. Now that is a pretty quick task for me, as I'm using a Dragon Hunter Lance. For me, I'm not going to skip that task because it literally only takes me somewhere between 8 and 10 minutes to complete, so it's easy points for skips down the road. So I would definitely suggest doing that just to get the task out of the way and for the easy points. Next, I had 170 Kurosks. Kurosks are incredibly good AFK money, as well as very low cost to do. You don't need great gear to do the Kurosks efficiently. Now, I do it in full bandos with a Leaf Bladed Battle Axe. The task is very quick, 16,490 experience for that. Ancient Wyverns, they're not terrible money an hour, probably around 600k, and only, again, 26 of those if you don't have the tasks extended. So it's pretty nice for quick XP, as well as you can get lucky with a decent amount of loot. Thermonuclear Smoke Devil did 186 of those. Not the best money in the world for a boss, but you can see somewhere around 1,000,000 GP per hour, depending on what kind of loot you get. Big task, 44k XP from that one. The next one was Mutated Blood Velds, and honestly, with the price of blood runes going up so much, if you get lucky with blood rune drops, you can easily see somewhere between 500 and 1,000 blood runes. So definitely for the Iron Men out there, it's actually a pretty good task to do. Not to mention, they are some of the best melee experience in old school RuneScape. Next up, I had a boss task of the Calphite Queen, 35 of those. Now I said for this series, I'm going to do every boss that I do get assigned. Following that up, I had 106 Kraken, not bad money there either. If you're not using the Sanguinesti staff, which I am, the Sanguinesti staff, I can stay there for almost an entire trip with high alchemies and pretty much no food because of the Sanguinesti staff's healing passive. Next up is Skeletal Wyverns. Very quick task for me with the Dragon Hunter Lance. Honestly, it can also be a pretty quick task with just a Zamorakian Hasta or an Abyssal Whip if you have one of those. 32 of them, and they're pretty good money. Dark Beasts is another one just like Steel Dragons. 17 of them, very quick task. Do them down in the Prifdinus dungeon. They do drop crystal shards down there, so I decided to knock those out quickly for the quick points. Neckrails, normal ones, always do the normal Neckrails if you're trying to make money and get melee experience. You can see somewhere between 600,000 and 700,000 GP an hour there. They drop a lot of stuff to Alk. Next up, I had a boss task of Vedion. 35 of those, and you can make some good money at Vedion. It's not bad GP per hour, definitely over 2 million GP per hour based on drop rates. The Ring of the Gods is quite expensive, as well as the Dragon Pickaxe only being like a 1 in 170 drop or something like that. A lot of XP there, 31,861. Ancient Wyverns again had 44 this time, knocked those out, and you'll only see 18 Grotesque Guardians here because that did bring me up to the close of the 251,027 total XP that I got. That last kill had taken me over the 250k XP, so I just went with it. You will see the next 17 completed on the next episode where the 250k to 500k XP comes in. So now let's take a look at the loot that I have managed to acquire through this first 250,000 experience. Now, for this, I'm actually a little bit on the low side, which surprised me. I had a little bit of a slide, didn't really get that lucky with drops. As far as runes go, 1,666 blood runes, pretty nice, 700k there. Got some nature runes in there as well as soul runes. 2,362 death runes, most of those came from my Kraken task. 5,000 chaos runes, also from the Kraken task. 90 law runes, and there's a couple of lava battle staffs in there as well, which I managed to pick up, and those were just somewhere else in my bank, had to add them in. Underneath of this, I did start a, I guess you could say, unique drop only tab. So any of the unique drops that I acquire throughout this million XP, I'm going to throw them in that tab only, just so we can see what kind of uniques that I did acquire. And then last, over on the right, is the actual like regular loot that you will see. I got my herbs in there, any kind of, resources that I pick up, ores, bars, some seeds, and pretty much anything else miscellaneous that will fall into that. You'll also see a platinum token stash there, 3.5 mil in platinum tokens. I have decided to alch all of the alchable drops on my way through this million XP and just turn them into platinum tokens so we can differentiate between that, and I didn't lose track of it with my actual cash stack. I have also decided to also do all hard and elite clues that I have gotten as a drop, and I will be doing the master clues if I should acquire any of those from opening the caskets, which we will see in the last episode. As for the estimated total at this current time, 12,038,139 GP, which all in all, not terrible. It's not the best, but it's not as low as it could have been. So everybody, that is going to wrap up Why Slayer is the Best Skill Part 2 in this series. I hope that you're enjoying following along with this, and I hope you will join me for episode 3 when I do finish that next 250,000 experience. If you would like to keep track and see where I am at throughout this series, there is a link to a Google document below, which you'll be able to view and see what kind of tasks I have been assigned, what I've been completing, and you can go from there. As usual, everybody, thank you for watching this video. I hope that you have enjoyed it. If you did like the video, please leave a thumbs up down below. If you have any questions or comments, you can also leave those. I do check them out, try to respond to as many as I can. And if you haven't done so yet, please tap that subscribe button on your way out. I will see you guys on the next one. Take it easy.